we're gonna get a little bit crazy. Wild and maybe even vulgar, if you please. It's after dark and we're gonna light it up. We got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for Midnight's Edge. After dark, a little naughty. We'll hopefully make you chuckle, but we ain't trying to hurt nobody. So get ready quick on the double, cause it's time for Midnight's Edge. After dark.
We got a War of the Rohirrim trailer. The Crow reactions are not good. It's getting pulled from theaters already, we're hearing. And the Star Trek Discovery game goes full on. Yeah, that. So anyhow, welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're back. It's Thursday. We have Script Doctor here. How you doing?
I am tired, but I'm happy to be here with you guys to wind down the night and,
All right.
and have some fun.
Let's do that. We also have another Canadian. That means 50% of the panel is now Canadian. Does that mean I got to pay Canadian taxes, or do they got to pay me?
I think it breaks even, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, but if we get someone else in here who's Canadian, then we can,
Well, I just
take
don't know if I
control.
have to pay or they have to pay me.
Well, our
Like a
dollar's
tax
not
credit.
worth much, so
You got a fucking point. So that's probably where Script is right in the end anyway, because it just evens itself.
Breaks even, pretty much, yeah.
Well, the price of that we'll never know, but we do know the price of reason. How you doing?
Well, the price of reason, according to some people, is $1.05.
It's $1.05. And I didn't introduce CC properly either, but hello.
It's okay.
hello there.
You can introduce him now.
I did. And we're here. We're live. There's probably a chance a few other people might pop in here. Nick is always a little bit late, but I'm sure he'll probably be here. And others might join us here soon. But we got you guys out there. Let's see what you guys are up to today. We got Tim in the house. We got Snortapoopus here. We've got Putin's cat here. We got, let's see here, Lombardi's here. Hasan Chavez, if I'm saying that right, or Hassan. Is it Hassan? Probably Hassan. FKHC 2005 is here looking good and green. And many, many more, like Many Dragon, Grimzilla, Hamdinger is here. That's right. We're going to get loaded. We're going to get started. Hit that like button. Share out the link. Let everybody know we're live. If you'd like to help us out, interject a question or a topic, you can always send us a super chat like Truth, Hope, Love here. Sent in 5 buccarinos. Says ignoring girl boss issues. The animation just looks stiff and awkward. I've seen anime on TV that looks in the 60s that looks more engaging. Well, what Truth, Hope, Love is talking about is the Lord of the Rings trailer, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. That is our first topic of the day. But I did want to share this gay Star Trek thing before we do get too deep into anything else. Unintended. You guys see this yet?
What is this?
I guess it's a video game.
Okay.
I think it's real.
Looks pretty cheap.
Psst, yeah. You expect anything less?
Is it real, though?
I guess people are telling me it's real.
Female officer, perhaps one of your gigs. Maybe you've seen something that caught your attention. What type of dialogue is that?
Fella you're with, the black kid, dresses like a writer. Does he know anything?
You are racist.
I don't know if this is real or not, but
It seems like it would be a parody. It can't be real.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
but
This is a parody game. I'd be interested in
people
playing
are
it.
saying it's real.
Of course, everything
It's real.
is parody now. Like real life has turned into parody.
Maybe it's
so.
not Star Trek.
That's
I
true.
don't look like Star Trek.
That's definitely not Star Trek. No.
I don't fucking care. I thought it was funny. But anyhow, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Truth, Hope, Love, and let's get into this Rohirrim trailer that you're talking about. So yeah, the opening, they really go out of their way to make sure that you know this is in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings world here. That's for damn sure. And of course, it's gonna act up on me right now just because.
Yeah, they're all in.
Yeah. So like, yeah, we got an opening with a bunch of live action shots for the film. Then it gets into the actual animation proper. We get a pretty good overview of what the story is going to be.
Yeah. It's basically, dude kills another dude's dad. They fight over it.
Yeah. Yeah, mix it with a little bit of what's that Disney movie, Mulan? Kind of.
Yeah, maybe.
Not
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Yeah, I can see
A
some
little
of that.
bit. But no, like I mean, I look, I get everybody's reservations over this, but let's get everybody's response here on the panel real quick. Let's start with you, Price. What's your thoughts on this?
I mean, my thoughts are that I like Peter Jackson and I like that he's involved in something and I'm curious to see it. But there is a little kind of voice inside of me that is also sort of a little voice of caution instead of, I guess, a voice of caution telling me that it could be something a bit female centric in a way that'll annoy me. But I'm really hoping not. I was telling you before, it's not that I want it to not succeed. I want it to do well and I want it to be great. I have like a spidey sense and I'm not sure, but I hope I'm wrong.
Fair enough. CC, what did you think?
Kind of with Price on this one. I trust the people involved. I definitely am a fan of the director. I love Ghost in the Shell. As far as the animation, I would say the stills look gorgeous. Whether or not it comes to life, this is over 2 hours long, and it's animated, and they're touting it as kind of like old school hand drawn, which I certainly prefer to CG. But it remains to be seen whether it feels sort of like they had to stiffen it and cheapen it, or whether they really like drew all the frames. Right? Trailer, I like parts of it. And I really want this to be good, right? But kind of like Price, I'm worried a little bit. But that's balanced by the fact that I trust the creative people involved. If you go to 154 on the trailer, that just kind of said it all to me, because like as the trailer goes on, you start to get like a little bit more of the girl boss vibes right there. Or when she's, first it's like, well, she's the or just before that. It's like, well, she's the fastest rider in the land. Okay. There.
Maybe it has to do with the fact that she's also the lightest of all the other warriors on a horse,
and
right?
that's fine. I don't mind that. As long as it's realistic. I don't mind her being part of the story. I don't mind there maybe being a little bit of a love thing there. I'm interested. I'm going into it with an open mind, but it's like, how far are they going to take it with her? Because there's that shot where she's literally climbing upside down on an ice cliff, and it says, "You could rule the world," and I'm like, And
I hope it's not a Tila. I hope it's not a Tila.
Yeah, and then it gets more intense. Of shots later in the trailer, like there's a shot where she's running through a battlefield with, I guess, a short sword or a dagger, and was she going to like take on 10 monstrously armored men and defeat them? It's like, you should be afraid of me, and I'm like, okay. I have seen this director do strong female characters that I think were very well written in the past. I can't speak to everything that he's done because I haven't seen everything that he's done. But I just hope they don't go too far with that. Make her part of the story, fine. Just make it believable, like, don't make her do superhuman things. That's just impossible for anybody to do. Like climbing upside down on a cliff. That's pushing it a little bit. Climbing upside down on an ice cliff. Maybe she could do that. But the fact that at that exact moment in the trailer, they're saying, "You could rule the world." It sends up a really big red flag for me. But I do love a lot about this project. So I'm going to give it a chance.
Okay, well, Six says we're on crack. The trailer is fire. And Lyle Hammock, am I saying that right? With $5 says you should do the Japanese trailer. It's much better and completely different. Well, I'll have to check that out here in just a moment.
Kind of totally makes sense. There would be one. I didn't think to check.
Yeah. But yeah, anything more to say on it, CC?
No, I'm going to give it a chance. It's not like this doesn't look awful. It's just obviously, I've been beaten over the head with the girl boss so many times in recent years that I have to feel a little bit worried, right? Because they're giving some vibes of it, but yeah, it's kind of where I'm at right now.
I can see where you're
It's
coming
sad that
from,
we've
but-
reached this point where we can't just look at a trailer without even suspecting all this kind of stuff. 10 years ago, I wouldn't suspect anything if I saw something like this.
Not a clue.
Well, my reaction will actually feed into that or respond to that a little bit. So I'll hold off on what I'm going to say. But the script, what's your reaction? Then we'll jump to Nick, and then we'll get back.
I'm disappointed it's anime. Primarily, I think anime is its own thing. It doesn't need to bleed over into Lord of the Rings. I think if they used models that were more, I mean, obviously you can't get, the original type of style in there, but at least something a bit more Western would be more appropriate for it. Otherwise, I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt. It's Peter Jackson. He hasn't made any statements saying that he would change his views on how he'd approach Lord of the Rings. And the first view that he said is that he's not injecting any of his own personality into Lord of the Rings. He says it's better just draw from the source material than try to put their own type of stamp on it. So hopefully that mentality is maintained for this. It's got a very well regarded anime director involved, so I think that's pretty good. But I love the backgrounds. I think they're beautifully done. For me, anime works when it feels authentically anime. With Lord of the Rings and anime, I don't think mix personally. So that's the only really apprehension I have on it on the aesthetic side.
Yeah, I'm not coming across the Japanese version. Somebody wants to DM that to me on Twitter or something. That'd be cool. But yeah, so Nick, have you got a chance to check this trailer out yet?
I did. I caught it a few hours ago earlier today.
What'd you think?
It was fine. I actually don't mind the animation style, even though it's not my preferred format as to enjoying this type of story, especially for such a medieval story. But it's fine. There is a swarm of caution around it as to a certain elephant in the room. I'm sure you guys can figure out what I'm talking about as far as the elephant in the room. It feels like it could be fine, but I'm gonna definitely give it a genuine watch. Unlike Rings of Power, which I have stayed away from like the plague. I'll give this a watch and hope for the best, but it's fine. We'll see how it goes.
Would you rather say it's the Ollie font in the room?
That was good.
Well, that was quick. No, honestly, look, I'm not as familiar. I'm not very familiar with this era of the story, so I have no idea what they're changing, where they're drawing it from directly.
I couldn't tell you either. I've only
all that kind of business, but I can understand everybody's worries about the girl boss thing, but I have a feeling, or at least I'm hoping, that this, and as I said with Gollum movie coming up, are more so Peter Jackson saying, "Oh, you're gonna ghost me over at Amazon with your Panda Rings of Power." Well, I can do a girl boss story too. Look what I can do.
It could still be good. It could end up being a good character, and hopefully she is. I would like to, end up enjoying that type of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Sure, it's theatrical release, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so now I have to really hope that this is going to be good, because I have to give up not just my time but my money in order to see this right away. So,
oh wait, no, this is on streaming.
Good. Oh, it's on streaming. Oh, I thought it was theatrical.
Are you sure? I think it's a theatrical cut.
Oh, there is.
Or, I mean, a theatrical thing, because it's going to IMAX.
Oh, it is. Okay, then you're
Yeah.
going to shell out a ticket for it.
I don't know. I meant it's going to be a theatrical film, not theatrical cut.
If that's the case, then please be good.
Is it a double thing where it's theatrical and at home, or it's just theatrical?
I'm sure it'll eventually be on Max, but as far as when it premieres in theaters, it's Christmas.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. One of the last things Toby Emmerich was a producer on.
No, I mean, there's a black spot on that. But I mean, one thing with regards to, unlike other trailers that do feature girl boss. This one seems to show a flashback of the main character as a child practicing swordplay with the opposite character as a child. So it's not like she just picked up a sword as an adult and is all of a sudden good at it.
Right.
Which does help.
They're at least establishing that she's had some sort of lessons or at least some sort of experience with a blade. And perhaps her status as the princess has said, well, you're a princess. Yeah, you can learn defense. Sure, we'll tease you, we'll placate you on that, but you're not a warrior. You're not a frontline infantryman or soldier or anything of that nature.
No, I'm willing to give it a shot. And I'm not even that big of an anime fan, and I don't mind the style all that much. If anything, I would prefer it be more 2D animation, like the backgrounds and stuff. It's like if you're going to do that 3D animation, then, like, I don't know, it just kind of takes away from it. Honestly, I'd love it if it was in the old Rankin and Bass style more so, but...
I'll give it a chance, too. I'll go to the theater, watch it in IMAX, and hope that it's great. It's not that I don't want it to be good.
No, I'm willing to give it a shot, especially considering Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh. Yeah, they had a bit of a girl boss character shoved into Hobbit, but whatever.
Oh, the Evangeline Lilly character?
Yeah.
Well, that was how they were able to pad it out to 3 movies instead of 2.
Right. It wasn't like they were taking away from another character. It wasn't...
They weren't subverting another character or embarrassing another character. They're like, we don't have 3 movies, but the studio's forcing us to make 3 new movies. We need another subplot story here. Hey, Evangeline Lilly, you're popular on Lost. Let's.
So yeah,
even though Lost was shit, but that's a whole.
She was one of the least of the problems of the film, I'd say, as far as her films.
I think it depends how they handle this, because I was talking to Six in the chat, and I'll bring it up now. One of my favorite stories in animes, Berserk, does have a strong female lead, Casca, who kind of is with some shades to this character here. She leads an army in battle, right? She leads soldiers, and she is strong, and she rides on a horse, and she carries a weapon, and she is strong, and she's believable, but she's also flawed, right? And that story strikes a really, really great balance between her and the male protagonist, Guts, who, after she gets wounded in the battle, has to single-handedly take on 100 men, right? And it's a fantastic scene if you ever read the manga. And I won't spoil anything beyond that, but it's believable, right? The whole thing's, it's not just for the sake of, well, it's a strong character who's going to, do it. So I think as long as they cut that balance similarly here, it could be fantastic. I get a little bit of that vibe from the trailer, right? If they don't just overpower her against, any kind of better writing judgment, and there's actually some character dynamic, and she maybe does fail, does get hurt, and has to be saved by somebody else. Maybe she in the case of Casca, what Casca does is she over exerts herself. She goes beyond her limits, right? She's, she takes on more than she can chew, and she does fail, and she does she almost dies, right? And she does have to be saved. And it's an absolutely beautiful and heartbreaking scene. And if they could do something, they don't have to copy that here, but if they can kind of get that dynamic into it, I think it'd be fantastic, right? I know you all probably haven't read Berserk, but if you haven't read Berserk, check it out. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like the Rey thing, right? It's like, it's good when characters fail, when they're flawed, right?
Well, especially when the failure makes sense. I mean, it's not like, oh, Rey got cut in the arm, that makes her flawed. It's like, no, that's very, very weak, placating, pandering to such a critical criticism.
Yeah. Once again, hopefully this doesn't drop the ball. I want this to be good, and maybe it helps that I don't know the books, that I only have seen the movies. I do remember the PlayStation 2 games were good though, so I guess I don't know how much you want to count that. I actually thought those were fun games, but that's where my knowledge starts and ends, is the Peter Jackson trilogy and the video games on PS2. Those games are freaking awesome,
right? And there always has been strong female characters in Lord of the Rings. And Six points out here, Tolkien describes Galadriel as the mightiest of the elves remaining in Middle-earth. Eowyn killed the witch king of Angmar as an example as well. Like, yeah, I mean, and that's why I don't want to like be too quick to judge this, right? I do, especially after the announcement Peter and them guys made here not too long ago when they announced Gollum and another secret project were coming up, and they even called themselves, what was it, the ambassadors of the token lore? How did they put it? Somebody remind me, but something along those lines, like they're the keepers of the lore in some way. And to me, that was them kind of claiming ownership over this shit. It's like, yeah, that other stuff, that ain't the real thing. This is the real thing. You know, like that's the at least feeling. But now it's up. I got from it, but now it's up to Peter and Fran and them guys to actually deliver. Now, this is probably one of the more. Now, I'm sure they had a lot to do with this, but I don't know how much. Did Fran actually write this with what's her face, or I didn't even see who wrote it. Oh, somebody breaking shit. Save the pieces. Somebody's cooking something in the microwave.
I don't know.
I'm trying to get to the. There we go. Okay. Is there more credits in this? I don't see any. Oh, there we go. Okay.
All the credits. Kenji Kamiyama. Who is he?
Philippa is the other person. So she worked on it, but not anybody else. So, yeah. This one might not be as
writing
good.
team. So we got 2 writing partners that came in. We got Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews, and then they were rewritten by Phoebe Giddings and R.T. Papagiorgio. So,
should we know anything about this Kenji Kamiyama? Is it someone that we should know that's notable for better or worse?
We did Ghost in the Shell.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you were just talking about him before.
That's what the actual anime or the movie?
Well, the TV series. Yeah.
Okay, was it a good one?
Which I actually prefer to the movie.
Okay.
Personally, standalone complex.
Okay, sweet. Well, I guess that's a good sign at least. That's something to get behind.
I haven't seen everything that he's done, so I can't speak to that. He's probably had some worse things, but I loved both seasons of that show in particular, and I think he handled the characters, male and female, quite well. It was layered storytelling. And of course, I trust Peter Jackson. The fact that they're going in heavy, kind of connecting this to his work and saying, trust this because it's his work. Obviously, it's been a long time. 20 years is a long time. But
yeah, a lot of these people, when they're young, they're great, and then later they're shit.
Well, they're not as hungry when they're older.
Yeah.
When they have the success, it's like, well, where's the desperation to try and make something fantastic and great? Well, it's gone now because you already earned the very thing you're seeking. So now you don't have that fire beneath you to continue it.
Yeah, it looks like he probably has hundreds of millions of dollars at this point. He's sitting around in his jacuzzi, and somebody told him, "Hey, you want to do this cartoon?"
Now, this Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews, it looks like they worked their way up through some shows like Grey's Anatomy, and then they did a show called
As he was
Burroughs. The Burroughs, and then they worked on Dark
Crystal. As he was eating caviar on a cracker, like what's the beluga? What's the expensive kind? The kind that costs
beluga caviar?
Yeah, the most expensive beluga caviar on the world. He was just eating like that, and somebody barged into his room and said, "Hey, do you want to make this movie?"
He's like, "Sure, I don't have anything to do on a Tuesday."
That's my theory, at least. That's how I envision this.
Yeah.
I think people did more like wait, Amazon is doing Lord of the Rings, a live action production, and they're not even talking to me about it. Screw that. I'll go do a cartoon and show them how good I am.
Well, no, they were talking to him, but they ghosted. If you're talking about Peter Jackson,
because they didn't have the rights to actually.
And that's what I've been saying this whole time. Is I think that's what these are. And I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, you look at it this way. This is a strong female character. Again, I'm not really familiar with the source material where they pull this from, but I mean, this would be like him going, here, look what I can do. And same thing with Gollum. And we don't know what his other project's going to be yet. But Gollum, that was everybody's first reaction too, is this is based on a paragraph. How are you going to make a movie out of that? It's like, well, isn't that what Banderings of Power is? Basically a whole show built on like a vague paragraph, basically, or whatever. Yeah.
I am like with you on this.
Yeah.
He quietly kind of left that project, or was, pushed
ghosted
out of it. Yeah.
He flat out said he was ghosted.
So he has something to prove here. For sure.
That's what I'm thinking. That's really what I'm thinking, actually. But yeah, like this has Philippa writing on it though, so she is one of the original members of the writing team.
No, she's just the producer.
Was she just a producer? I thought she was one of the writers.
No, two sets of brand new writers. It looked like.
Yeah, but she's there as a story by.
That doesn't mean anything.
I mean, she came up with something.
No, it means she says, "Hey, we're going to use this story." That's as much as you need to get a story by credit. And if it's a paragraph in the Lord of the Rings, and she says, "Let's do that paragraph," that earns a story by credit. That's all you need to do. It's very easy to get. Doesn't mean anything really.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly.
Well, we'll have to see how it shapes up. We got till Christmas to find out. Elf's been here for 24 months, though. That's 2 years. Thank you for that, Elf. We appreciate that. And then, yeah, Lyle, I don't think anybody sent it to me yet. No, I still don't have it. So I have not seen it, so I can't bring it up yet.
Search for it.
Yeah, I tried finding it. I couldn't
Come
find
on.
And then Elf sends in a $5 super chat. It says, off topic, Tom, but one of the reasons why they're probably developing the Spider-Verse delaying the Spider-Verse movie is because they do want to connect it to the Secret Wars movie. My reasoning is because Spider-Verse includes cameos like Miss Chen from Venom, Donald Glover, and Prowler, and Andrew Garfield with Uncle Ben. Well, we're actually looking into this a little bit. I mean, I only had like vague rumors initially, hearing things, and then we had like the actors come out and say, yeah, we haven't recorded our voices yet for the second movie. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
so dumb. Yeah.
What the hell are you doing? And so I don't know if Amy's gotten in the way of something, if Disney's trying to negotiate something. I've kind of thought maybe this could be a way of bringing Miles Morales into the MCU somehow. Otherwise, just recently again, the stories about how if they use any of these villains or certain characters, they can't use them in the MCU. Well, that was reiterating something that we had reported like what 3-4 years ago now, or way back when the Spider deal first
during the
off.
initial contract. Yeah, that was the stipulation, but it seems that doesn't matter when you had No Way Home, and they used they used Doc Ock, they used Little Lizard, they used Green Goblin.
They might have found a way with a loophole.
I was gonna say maybe that was the negotiation to get that movie made, because if you remember, they originally were supposed to be done for Far From Home, after Far From Home, and then they negotiated a deal to get No Way Home out. Yep. And maybe part of the deal for No Way Home was they could use some of these characters for that movie.
And my point was, since they're played by the same actors that played them in the previous films, that might have been a way of shoehorning it.
Yeah.
I hope they never finish that series. I've been thinking about it. I hope they never make the third animated Spider-Verse thing. They should leave it open-ended. You see that second movie, it ends, and we never hear from these people again.
Well, we know we're getting the live-action Nick Cage movie, but now we're hearing that the Silk Spider or whatever spinoff might not be happening. Yeah. And the other thing is I remember they announced they were going to do a Spider-Gwen spinoff too, but now I said it then, and I think now that might be the other thing getting in the way too, is I think they wanted to produce that as a series, but they can't produce an animated series. It has to be live action. That's why all of a sudden that
Spider-Noir with Nick Cage had to be live action.
Live action. Yeah.
That I'm willing to watch. The one with Nick Cage I'm willing to watch. All the rest, as far as I'm concerned, put them in some kind of vault. Make them disappear. Even the ones I'm willing to give up. Spider-Verse 1 and 2, make them disappear. I'm willing to do that.
Were you here the other day, Script, when we were talking about Miller and Lord? Sounds like they're not renewing their TV deal with Sony.
And they're overrated too.
No, I didn't. I mean, I've heard that.
So I'm starting to wonder what's going on.
They're coming back for Sony. That they're looking at other places. I just didn't.
Yeah,
they should be lucky they have a job.
Adding fuel to the fire that something's.
They should be lucky they have a job. I think they're totally overrated. I mean, I guess there's less talented people in Hollywood, but man, they made that Lord and Miller more than they are. And as far as I'm concerned, let them go. Kind of like J.J. Abrams, try to go from studio to studio and not close deals.
My point with that though is
justice.
Yeah, I'm not going to agree or disagree with that price. My point was just basically them looking for other employment, other places for employment. Kind of tells me something's not going right.
You don't think they're overrated?
That's not the point. That's not even the point.
But I'm asking, just because
personally, I like half of what they do. The other half of what they do, if it's like overtly woke, like the Spider-Verse shit, I haven't liked. But I loved the Lego movie, and I loved what they did with 21 Jump Street. That being said, my point is that them, basically saying peace out, bitches, is to me showing there's some creative problem going on behind the scenes. Or there's something getting in the way of them not getting this shit done, because they're not going to just jump a ship like that, where they've been at Sony now for what, a decade script? Roughly?
At least since
that's where they started 21 Jump Street. Yeah. Otherwise they went to Warner Brothers for the Lego movie, but they've had a deal with Sony for years.
First 21 Jump Street. I don't even know if I like the second one. I think that's the first one I tolerated. It was all right.
Well, not only that, like I said, their other series had gotten, the rumor is it got canceled, the Silk Spider one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Spider-Gwen one's been up in the air for a while. Now I've been hearing that might be a movie. And that's where I'm wondering if that's where some of the delay is coming in, that they're going to work it in as a spin-off movie off of that.
Way too much. Wow.
Again, these are all rumors, so take it with a grain of salt.
Sad part is I believe all of those rumors are a possibility, especially 2014 was the Emperor Wears No Clothes moment when Sony denied that there was no Aunt May movie, and then the leaks came out. No, there was talks of it. It's just like, guys.
Agent Aunt May, oh yeah. Stop. We had the emails, and that's, I think Andre is kind of looking through the emails to see if there's anything on this yet, if he's had a chance, because that was what I brought up to him. I'm like, we may want to start looking for Spider-Man stuff in there from the recent leak. If there's anything in there. But otherwise, like I totally would believe it if I was to hear a rumor. I haven't heard this rumor, but I would totally believe it if somebody said, yeah, Disney wants Miles Morales in the MCU like tomorrow. Like, I would believe it.
Oh, I'm surprised that actually hasn't happened already.
That would be a mistake. I hope it doesn't happen, and I hope that they
So we're gonna get an interesting take on Token from George here.
I am looking forward to that. That's gonna steal the show tonight.
So before he gets in here, though, let's finish up the super chats. We got one more here on deck, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Crow until he gets here. Lyle Hammock sends in another 5. Thank you for the support. Says put in War of Rohirrim trailer JP dub. It's on YouTube. You just have to scroll down. I would link it, but I'm driving. Oh, okay. Well, let me see if I can find it here. So I did have Japanese, and I had Let's see here. I got scenes from Return of the King with a Japanese dub. Scenes from the first film. No trailer. Let me take out Lord of the Rings.
Also restrict the date it was posted by say
that's probably a good idea. Yeah, today actually. No results found. I don't know where you saw it, pal. That or it's been pulled down from YouTube, one or the other. Yeah, because otherwise they're all the same trailer. So yeah, if anybody can send it to me, that'd be great. I know you're driving right now, Lyle, so don't worry about it. But I got Warner Brothers India, but that one runs and looks the same length. I'm scanning through it here. It looks the same as the other one.
It looks like CC found it. It's linked in the private chat.
Oh, cool. I was paying attention in there. Okay, so here we go. I'm already laughing.
It's a way better trailer, though.
Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings. Why do they always talk like that in the movie?
Actually, just I don't know.
They make me racist.
Whoever put together the English trailer had a different concept.
Whoops, wrong one. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to bring down the super chat. Sorry.
It's the same movie, but it's totally different.
I'm probably now. If you're watching this on the replay, I probably had to clip this out.
Peter Jackson が送るロード・オブ・ザ・リング200年前の物語は日本の神山健二監督に託された舞台はローハン若き王女ヘラこの国に今最大の危機が迫る敵はかつて共に育った幼なじみウルフ
昔のあなたは戦いなど望まなかった。
放て。お前の知っている俺はもういない。王座は俺がもらう。
この城が唯一の砦。
It would help.
ロハンの兄弟たちよ、今こそ立ち上がれ。
僕たちのために犠牲になった。
Seems so much more serious.
It does seem a
Yeah,
lot
it's
more
showing a whole
serious.
different side of things. Yeah.
娘、
We make her a lot more vulnerable here.
皆の希望だ。この国の運命は
信じて、作戦がある。これが作戦？いい作
And it
戦
looks
だとは
like she
言って
has
な
like
い
a。male
一人の
companion
王
or
女に
something.
託された。
Yeah.
たとえ私が倒れても
We didn't really see
この
him in
国
the
を
other
導
trailer
く
at all.
運命の戦いが始まる。国を一つにすることだってできたのに。
Actually, a young
私が
Gandalf.
お前を恐れる。
恐れるべきね。
ロード・オブ・ザ・リング。
And we actually got the
ロー
music.
ハンの戦い。
That was so intense.
この指輪を一体何に。
Maged.
Yeah, this is a
Should have
way
saved
better
that
trailer.
for.
This is
Whoa.
the world.
Should have saved. That's what you need. Clean out your ear. After that, should have
It's a
saved
better
that
trailer.
for when George got here. I don't know if he's seen that or not. But interesting. Okay, so before he does get here, though, I've been hearing reports that The Crow is already being pulled from showings.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too.
In fact, some of our own crews, the Dix division, was planning to see it, and a bunch of the showings got canceled.
It was
I
never
guess
a
it's
good
doing
idea to
that
make
bad.
the movie to begin with.
Holy shit, that's bad.
You know what? They get what they deserve, and they should have never made this movie. The Crow should have been left alone, especially with the character that the Skarsgård is playing, that particular Crow identity. Because obviously, there's been a few guys who've been the character in the sequels, but as far as the main Crow from the Brandon Lee led movie, it should have just been left alone. And maybe this is the bad juju they get for messing with this movie. It should have just never taken place. But you know what? Well, God, what was his name? Eric. What's his name again, Tom? Eric.
Draven.
Thank you, Draven. Thank you. I'm like, it's at the tip of my tongue. Yeah, that
It doesn't even have an audience score yet on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow. Wow. And we're on the eve of.
Oh, there's people who've seen it already.
Yeah, if they were really gonna,
I heard it's horrible. I heard it's wretched.
Alone.
I heard there's no action until the end. The main characters are unlikable, and basically some of the ideas we were getting from the trailer sounded like they were correct, like they're just a couple of junkies and all that shit. Yeah.
So I'm right now. I'm checking my
all the actions in the
theater.
last half, I guess, of the movie or last quarter of the movie. I mean, so
I'm checking my local theater in the small town that I'm in.
Let's see what some of the critics are saying about it.
There is only, check this out. There was only one screening.
There's only 3 reviews.
There's only one screening at 8:30 for this movie. And now I'm going to check for a slightly bigger town in my area to see how much more it is. But yeah, at the local theater by me, only one screening in one room. They're not doing a few rooms. Like usually for new releases, they'll do like 2 rooms. This movie has one room with one screening. So not off to a good start. Now I'm checking Friday. Still one room, and there's only 5 screens. 12, 2:30, 5, 7, and 10. And guess what movie has just as many on one screen, and it's been out for over a month? Despicable Me 4.
Well, the big theater near me still has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 showings for tomorrow. We'll see if that changes.
That was a good joke.
Because actually, I think they killed the 6 o'clock show at the one that was that I was thinking about going to here. Yeah, because they only have the 9 o'clock show here listed now. Unless
It's
they did
just
it. Yeah, it's after 6.
crazy.
It probably started already.
It's just so crazy to think that in the same theater, Despicable Me 4, which has been out since July 3rd, has just as many screenings as the opening weekend release of this movie.
Well, it's like the reverse of something like the Joker, right? Because I told the story when I went in to see the Joker. I think there was like two screens showing it, and by the time I got there, they were all showing it, but whatever the other Disney movie was at that time.
It's going on its 8th
I think it
weekend
was
against
Captain Marvel or something like that.
The Crow's first weekend, and DM4 is its 8th upcoming weekend. That is nuts. That tells me this movie is going to probably even open low, just as low as Twister's on its 6th weekend. That's
I think this is going to be a horrible opening.
This is another Borderlands Madam Web, and it
might give Borderlands a run for its money, actually. The only thing it has going for it is I think it has a less of a budget. That's the only thing. Yeah,
true.
Sorry.
Which helps. But you know what it shows you? We'll do, like, it's not just the female-led movies; it's the male-led ones too. We did not want this. We don't care. We did not need Eric Draven recasted as the Crow. We don't. So yeah, the guy-led movies get hit too. It ain't just the lady ones.
Well, and it doesn't even evoke the Crow.
A few people, not that I care about what people say online, but I've had a number of people recently try to reply to my posts on Twitter saying, oh, you just don't like it when there's a diverse woman or a diverse man in the lead role and all that usual nonsense. And here, I think that it's a white dude, right?
And we still
the Crow is that guy not white?
And I don't want the Skarsgård kids. Yeah, I mean, he's with a black chick or whatever, mixed race. But
I can also think something is shit, even if there's a white character in the lead. Having a white character doesn't mean it's good. No skin color makes it immune to criticism. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Well, no, and this is definitely on that list of movies that nobody ever should have really bothered to touch again.
Nobody asked for this.
No. It was just, there's only one Crow movie anyway, regardless of all the sequels and TV show we got.
True.
The Crow was one of those movies that like defined the 90s like generation. Like it had, as you and I have said many times, it's one of those movies where you could see a quick photo and right away, that's the Crow movie. It was so distinct. It had the soundtrack that stood out.
We just got a bunch of reviews pop in. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Oh wow!
Okay, because there was only 3 before.
Splat.
Now I just refreshed, and all of a sudden, so they must have just all come in. Okay, we got David Rooney from the Hollywood Reporter saying the Crow is sluggish, overly self-serious gloomfest that never takes wing. Teresa Laxon over at Collider says struggling through an identity crisis, the Crow is doing too much, and as a result, doesn't do enough to serve its core narrative. Ooh.
Collider didn't like it?
No, Collider didn't like it.
Wow.
I don't think anybody liked it. I don't see one positive review here. These are all negative. David Fear over at Rolling Stone didn't even like it. Says it doesn't take long to realize that what was meant to be a franchise starter is unlike its hero, permanently dead on arrival. Benjamin Lee over at The Guardian says Crow 2.0 is a total heads and hands disaster, incoherently plotted and sloppily made, destined to join the annals of the very worst and most pointless well, not only that, you look at it and you're just like, why? I mean, if you're going to do this, you got to spend a lot more than what they're doing and do a lot more to,
I don't think spending would save this movie. It just,
what I mean is it requires a lot more prestige than what they threw at this thing. This feels like the Hellboy remake.
It looks like the Great Value version.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so...
The whole it's worse than Great Value. It's Ollie's. You know that store Ollie's? This is the Ollie's of the Crow.
Well, and usually they do the opposite of this. This is my point. Like, look at the Total Recall and the RoboCop remakes. Those cost like 10 times as much as the original films, and you got tons of stars in them. Now, granted, they suck, but that's not the point. My point is if you're going to try to do this, you got to go off balls to the wall and go all out on this. You can't. Especially considering the first film is kind of it wasn't an indie film, but it feels like an indie film, and it has that cult status. You can't fuck with that, and the only way you can is by trying to do the ultimate, like, penultimate like MCU kind of version of it, which even that wouldn't have worked. I'm not saying it would have worked. I'm just saying that's about your only tactic you could try to maybe have some success with this. But no, you can't. It's done. They should have never even tried. But yeah,
Tom, I just looked at a website that I check weekly, and I'd say they're usually around 80% accurate for their weekend box office predictions. So, assuming that they are correct, their prediction for opening weekend for this movie is within the range, and you might be right about it. Borderlands being better. They're talking as low as 6 million and as high as 10. So if it does 10, that's only 2 higher than Borderlands.
I don't see it doing 10 million. Not
and I don't know. I think it's probably going to. I'd say 7 or 8. I think it's going to be right up there.
I was thinking more like 5 or 6. I'm not even kidding. If they're pulling screenings, then yeah, there's no money to be made. I mean, I guess this David Rooney over at Hollywood Reporter says it's better than the original Disposable sequels, I guess. But that's not a glowing review.
What a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the ultimate grunge movie when it came out. I mean, you can't. But it was all just like there. It was barely. How do you put it? I hate using the term "lightning in a bottle" because it really was.
No, it absolutely was that type of movie. The Crow really was.
And I hate to say, even if hate saying if it wasn't for the fact that we lost Brandon Lee making it, I almost wonder if it wouldn't have been one of those movies that just kind of would have fallen into obscurity like Judge Dredd.
True.
It came out in that era of really.
It was the right movie at the right place at the right time because you had a lot of the goth scene really getting in the uprising. You also had the industrial scene that was in the uprising, and then you had rising star Brandon Lee coming off his other previous movies, and it was like everything was like all the stars minus Brandon's unfortunate death were aligned.
Well, what I'm saying is that got it front page coverage, basically.
Yeah. You also had a good supporting cast, too. You had Ernie Hudson, who was from Ghostbusters as well. So you had good support there as well. And on top of it, was based off a comic that people knew. It had all the dominoes lined up. And then, obviously, the movie is made, and the tragedy happened, and, then the rest is history. Them doing this is just such a dumb move. And this kind of validates our argument. Not kind of. It does. It straight does. The fact that it's opening this low shows you they should have just left this alone. It shows you they clearly were just thinking just because The Crow is being made that it's somehow that magically of a built-in audience that they're just going to see it just because the name is there. They should have thought about this. Even especially didn't Jason Momoa like 10 years ago try to make one?
Yes, they've been trying to remake this for about the last 2 decades, and they've had everybody from Jason Momoa to I can't even remember how many other people attached to this thing at one point or another. It was always one of those cursed projects that just never got off the ground. Yeah, now you can see why.
Take the hint.
Yeah, but on that note, let's change gears here just a little bit. We have George, the Giant Slayer himself here, kids.
Cool.
What's going on? George, he's gonna school us on some Lord of the Rings, I guess, because he's basically told me I'm wrong. I don't know if you saw my response to the.
I haven't seen it yet. No,
yeah.
I haven't seen it. Oh, okay.
Because I'll just kind of say like what I was saying before, because I kind of said it on the podcast already. But like, I'm curious if this is more so Peter Jackson and crew saying, "All right, you're gonna ghost me over at Amazon. Let me show you what I can do with a strong female character, just a outline or paragraph of something that'd be the Gollum project, and then who knows what he's gonna do next." But I feel like these are like reactionary fuck yous to Amazon. But you, on the other hand, have a completely different take. But I don't know this part of the lore as well as you do, so I'm curious to hear your assessment.
Well, thank you for having me on. Hello, Script Doctor, Karaoke, Nick Weiser, Price of Reason. Great to be here.
Good to see you again, George.
Great to see you all.
It's been too long.
Absolutely. The problem is this. I've been looking forward to this ever since Panderings of Season Power came out for season 1, because that was when it was first announced that actually a month before the premiere of the first season, Jackson and Philippa Boyens had put up a Facebook post War of the Rohirrim, and it was coming. And then we later found out that the Bobbsey twins of Panem and Kay ghosted him after they had asked him for help. They never explained the reason why. He gave an interview about that. So I've been looking forward to it. And then 3 months ago, all of a sudden, you get Philippa Boyens explains how she was writing this with her daughter, and an article came out, and I was like, maybe they're just messing with us, where she said she wanted to, they were breaking down the appendix, going through it, and how would they create something memorable, something epic? And they're like, we're going to take the unnamed daughter of Helm Hammerhand, who in 2752 of the Third Age, literally Tolkien was like, his daughter. He did not name her. When Tolkien didn't name a character, it had no significance. It was just like, here's his family. Because Helm had 2 sons, Hama and Haleth. I always can never pronounce that correctly. Hama and Haleth, who were named, plus an unnamed daughter. Philippa Boyens turned around and said, we thought, what a great opportunity. We can take this moment and really show how this strong daughter could rise up to the occasion with her father. That's not what the story is about. In 2754 of the Third Age, you have Freka, who is a Dunlending, goes to a council of Helm Hammerhand, Helm, who is the king of Rohan. So he proposes a wedding with Helm's unnamed daughter. He offers the king a gift. Helm makes fun of it, insults Freka. Freka insults him back. The next thing you know, Helm and Freka go outside. Helm hits him once. And with that, Freka drops to his knees and dies. Some people believe that that is where Helm got his nickname, Helm Hammerhand. That is the last you hear of the daughter, the unnamed daughter. And here we have Jackson, who I had ultimate faith in. He was going to adapt this for anime, and he was going to give us something brilliant. It was going to be Brian Cox as Helm Hammerhand, showing us how the Rohirrim are fighting the Dunlendings, how we see Isengard, where they had captured it, where they're going to go back to the Hornburg, which becomes eventually Helm's Deep, where he fights, where we see Helm die when his men came out. He used to go out every night to attack these hordes by himself. I mean, this beast of a man would go out with his fists and just annihilate brigands. And one day, his people, he didn't return home. They opened the gates of the Hornburg, and they see Helm Hammerhand standing in the snow, dead. It's very much like reminiscent of One Piece's Whitebeard. I just screwed up his name. Are
you talking about the guy with the leg, the handicapped leg?
No, I'm talking about in One Piece, Whitebeard at the Marine Fort. He dies standing up. It's a great deal that Tolkien focused that Helm was dead in the snow, but he was so strong, he didn't collapse. He didn't bend his knees. He's just dead, standing with his fists there. And to see this already, I'm going to keep a 1% hope just because I used to trust Peter Jackson.
What an endorsement, 1%.
Well, because you can. It was supposed to be narrated by the actress who played Eowyn. And when I heard that originally, I was like, that's going to be awesome. Brian Cox, the actress who played Eowyn, I can never remember her name. And then when they turned around and said they're going to create an entire show around an unnamed character, I'm like, okay, here we go. This is another Hollywood hoedown and ass-raping Tolkien. Again, you want to show up Amazon's panderings of power? You do it by sticking to the source material, at least the heart of the story. So that's my bit. I'm pissed off.
Well, I mean, I still feel like from the trailer I saw, a lot of what you said is still there. I get your reservations, and we kind of talked about that for the first, half hour of the show, basically. And that's kind of where, like I said, I'm willing to give Peter and the guys a chance, and because I know how they've written female characters before. Now, I don't know if you've seen this Japanese trailer.
I didn't know there was one.
It is a little different than the other trailer, and it does show her in a little bit more vulnerable positions. It does show off that she does have a partner with her who's obviously it looks like a male.
But let me ask you a question.
And some other things too that are a little different than the other trailer. Yeah.
Why deviate? See, this is what bothers me. One of the great things that I loved about Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy is that he captured the spirit of Tolkien. He changed the way Aragorn is portrayed. He added bits for his love. He did those things, but he never deviated from the heart of the stories.
I still don't think he will here, but we'll have to wait and see.
How? There was no female warrior. It didn't exist in this story. Tolkien wrote incredible female characters. I wish they would focus on what he did best. Just adapt the damn story because it would be a success. I want Tolkien to succeed as it is. And I thought under Jackson, he would do that. I don't know why Philippa Boyens decided that, we're going to build an entire fucking show around someone who isn't real. Anyway.
Well, it's just a movie, but I mean, Script is probably the best person to answer this question as a writer himself. I mean, I'm sure there's a few reasons why they do this, but what do you think your take on that is?
Well, given the fact that it's based off of a character with no name, with very little happening in that, they can do whatever they want with her, and so long as it doesn't violate the essence of the story or the canon within the books, I mean that's fine. Like there's no rules. I mean, I always found it kind of silly, especially when I was reading like the little bits of the Silmarillion, is that Tolkien goes into all these details of all these things, yet the one time he introduces a character, he doesn't name her, he doesn't give her anything, and he just tosses her aside. Like, what's the point in doing that? I mean, that always struck me as very odd. And here you have this production saying, you know what, we think that's odd too, but let's have fun with it and see if we can make a character that fits within Tolkien without violating it. I mean, that's the presupposition there is that we are assuming that because Jackson is involved, what they're trying to add to it is not to violate anything with regards to the story, but to just explore something that, allows them to have fun with it. Basically, I mean, again, Tolkien's not perfect at all, but here's something that's interesting. The one character of all the characters that he's named, all the histories that he's gone through, here's one character that has a pivotal role within this type of story, and it has no name, and they have no stories. Like, why would Tolkien forget to do that? Like, at all? Like, why even bring it? He had editors. Would they be like, why even mention the daughter? Well, like, she's going to be betrothed to him. Great. Does she have a name? Doesn't matter. Really? Come on, JRR. Come on. Like, you have to hold, even all reverence to Tolkien, you have to hold his feet to the fire when he does have something absent-minded in that regard. Again, Peter Jackson was held to the fire when he found out that Tom Bombadil wasn't going to be in the trilogy. And he's like, you know what? It's a very difficult character to adapt, but we got rid of him so that we can maintain the integrity of the story we wanted to tell, to honor Tolkien for what he did. Here, it looks like we have something of the reverse. There's a character that hasn't been explored, that essentially the war is fought because of her. Remember, right?
Right, it's over her. Yeah.
I don't want my daughter to marry you. We're going to have a fight and I'm going to knock you down. There's something there to explore. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and let them be the ones that ruin it for me, as opposed to jumping in like a battered housewife every time the husband opens the door and be like, oh my God, girl boss. Because that's a low-hanging fruit thing at this point.
I know. Yeah. But it's just what Hollywood keeps doing. That's why I said I'm
not what Hollywood keeps doing. It's what Disney keeps doing.
But they're not making it easy. They're not making it easy. And He-Man wasn't Disney. You know what I mean? This is an animated show, and it again looks like a Tila. But I'm really hoping that because of the people involved, that it won't be.
I'm willing to see her in the story. I kind of agree with Script on this. She's in the movie. I'm okay with that. It's how they use her. Does she completely dismantle the lore? Is she actually... Because there's a line in the English trailer, right? That you could rule the world. And she's, like I said, she's climbing upside down on an ice cliff.
Yeah, like, that's starting to remind me of Rings of Power.
But is that about her, or is it about the father? Like, that's the question.
Well, and I almost wonder what they're showing us in this trailer and compare, like, especially after seeing that Japanese version. I mean, I know it's we don't really know what they're saying, but like you guys pointed out, we even get to see her in a little bit
different.
Yeah, you get to see her in some different situations. You see that she's not alone, because that first trailer makes it look like she's alone through this whole thing.
Right.
And I mean, that American trailer almost feels like it's meant to feed into that
was my feeling. As soon as I saw the Japanese trailer, I felt like the English trailer might have been made to amplify things that weren't there. Or maybe the Japanese trailer is made to not amplify things that are there, but it feels completely different. Right.
The story is about Helm Hammerhand and the line of Rohan and the line of kings and the mark that he left. It was insignificant. Why build a character out of something that didn't exist? I understand. I actually agree with script, and we agree many times. I agree with script that you have to hold writers, the ones you love, their feet to the fire. I don't know why Tolkien didn't name her. He does that many times, and in the stuff that I've discovered through his letters and in the Unfinished Tales, he thought, at least for a couple of characters, not the unnamed daughter, that it was just completing a picture, but it wasn't necessary for anything else. It was just a moment in time. It was all about Helm and how he dealt with his people and building up his myth. So why? This is when I say Hollywood. Why then create something in a scenario where we are in 2024, people are tired of DEI. When they hear, if we were back in 2010, 2008, you would be like, okay, that's artistic interpretation. Let's take a look at it. You wouldn't jump up and down. You wouldn't be, as Script said, going after the low hanging fruit for the possibility. But in this day and age, why even take that risk? We have panderings of power.
I think that's why this exists, though. And again, I could be wrong, George, but I think it is a comment to what they did there. And I really do think it's Peter Jackson saying, I can do what you're doing better. Because we've already seen him do strong.
But you know what? I have a comment about that. The fact that Peter Jackson can do it better doesn't mean that that's what people that enjoyed his movies want to see. It's nice that he can show them that he's better than them. I never said he wasn't.
You also have to remember when this movie was,
you know?
You have to remember that this movie was put into production at the period of the height of that shit.
2 years ago. 2 years
ago. And again, I do feel like Peter is probably setting out to show up Amazon and their bullshit.
If he's just doing this as some personal ego trip, and at the end he's not serving up anything good, and it's just to show that he can have a girl boss that's better than their girl boss, I don't want to go as far as to
I don't
say
think that's all of it.
I
think he genuinely wanted to get back into the Lord of the Rings universe, because Peter has not made a movie or a fictional kind of thing in a while. Most of the stuff he's been doing for like the last decade has been documentary stuff, right? You got to remember, when he did The Hobbit, he wasn't going to do that. That was Guillermo del Toro, and he was burnt the fuck out. Like, that movie almost killed him. Well, those movies, plural, almost killed him. Like, if you see him in that period, he looks so sickly. Not just losing weight. He looks like he had cancer or something, because it just took a toll on him that you probably couldn't believe. But my point is he's been, it's almost 20 years removed now from those films, right? Or, well, roughly 15, almost 15, whatever. 20 plus removed from the original, and almost that from the Hobbit movies. He's had some time to breathe now. I think he's ready to dive back in. And I think that's what that big announcement was a couple of weeks back with the Gollum thing and the Secret Project. I think the Secret Project is his passion project. This was, I think, a comment on the whole strong female thing. I think Gollum is his comment on, okay, I can take a small little piece of information and stretch it out into a full story. We have to wait and see how that turns out, because we saw how The Hobbit turned out, but I won't blame The Hobbit completely on him. Right?
No,
he was stuck doing what was kind of set up for him there, because Guillermo just kind of pieced out on him at the last second. And as far as what the Secret Project is, we have no idea what that is yet. And that's the one I think that he's going to take the most control over. Because the Gollum Project, isn't that the one that Andy Serkis has a little bit more control over? Because he's already been out there promoting it and shit. You know more about this than I do. So
I'm worried about all of this, but go on.
I don't understand. I would love Script to tell me this, because I always learn so much from why can they not just stick to the damn canon?
Because they think they can do it better.
It's not that at all. It's not that they can do it better. The question being is, like, who's writing the checks and what opportunities are they able to see? Did someone say, hey, we want to actually write this story from the book? Or did they say, you know what, I'm actually more interested in exploring this uncharted area, and you know what, the Lord of the Rings fans don't know what this area could be too. Maybe we can contribute to that and really reward them for their passion and love of the story, because that's also an angle as well. It's basically like, hey, there's a story that hasn't been told that is referenced to. It doesn't have a whole lot of details of it. maybe we can explore that a bit further, give it a bit more depth, and do something where we can say thank you to the not just the Lord of the Rings fans, but also thank you for Tolkien for making this universe. There's those perspectives. They exist out there. Getting the execution of that, whew, that is your lightning in the bottle. Like everything has to be working 100% because it's not easy to do that, right? It just isn't. I mean,
well, adapting is a whole different animal, especially something like Lord of the Rings, which in some places, let's be fair, reads like stereo instructions. Right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's always the irony where Tolkien's like, no, I invented this daughter just to complete the painting of the picture. Dude, you have 15 pages describing a forest.
I know, but he doesn't.
Yeah, that is a good point. And he has had strong female characters. You're right about that too, George. He has no problem writing them.
Well, of course not.
But I kind of see
his kids, his son and his daughter, like he wanted them to connect with those and be inspired by those characters. There's nothing wrong.
And we also know they're all limited on what areas they can kind of adapt and shit. That's the other fucking problem because of how convoluted the fucking rights still are.
Oh, yeah.
Because don't make any mistakes. They're still convoluted because as we learned from when Embracer Group bought the company that, like, before that, what was it? The company that owned the one set of rights was like, oh, we're pretty sure we've got all the rights. And it's like, well, do you? And Warner Brothers said, we got the movie rights.
We know that, yeah.
And that's what and that's part of the I'm not going to sit here and pretend that part of the reason War of Rohirrim doesn't exist is because it is a rights retainer. Right?
I don't know. I just would love to see. There's such a Tolkien fandom around the world of hundreds of millions of people, let down by Amazon, especially after the disaster that they created. And I was like, what a great opportunity to tap back into that and to bring the magic that he brought to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But
yeah,
it's just, I'm going to see it to see what's going on. But what I read of Philippa Boyen's when she originally gave that interview 90 days ago and then 160 days ago, and then the trailer, like I said, I haven't seen the Japanese one. It smells of what she was saying. We wanted to bring this strong female character. I'm like, why don't just go grab a story then about a strong female character? See, that's the part I don't get. Yeah. Go grab the stories that Tolkien created about strong female characters because I'd love to see those on screen because no one's done them.
But they had one chance. Which stories do they have complete access to adapt? Like, again, we
that's
don't
what
know
I was getting at.
The entirety of the rights are fractured to a point. Like, what Amazon doesn't even know 100% what they have. And
even the Hobbit rights are technically fractured.
I mean, yeah, because there's technically two publications out there. There's the one that was written before Lord of the Rings.
Well, not just that.
The updated one afterwards, and they all have their separate rights contracts.
The rights for the Hobbit was done differently than the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's because when Warner Brothers tried to make the Hobbit, that's when they found out that MGM had the rights for some reason due to either because of, I can't remember if they picked them up sometime in like the 90s or 80s, or if it had something to do with the Rankin and Bass cartoons from back in the day or what, because they did do a sequel to that with Return of the King back in the mid 80s. And I guess my understanding was that, yeah, they basically, there was a big rights issue that went into court for years over the Hobbit between MGM and Warner Brothers and the company, the holding company.
What was it, Zantz or something they were called or something like that?
Yeah, Zantz, that's it. The Saul
Zantz Group.
Yes, that's it.
And they just did not have proper infrastructure in managing that.
And that was because the Saul Zantz company went and gave the rights to the television shows to somebody else, gave the rights to all the movies to somebody else for The Hobbit, all the movies for Lord of the Rings to somebody else for that. I think they also had the rights for the Silmarillion somewhere else as well.
The estate had those because Tolkien never wanted to give it. The only thing I understand about the Saul Zantz company is it's been a rumor. I've never confirmed it, but supposedly Tolkien had only given them one directive. Nothing can ever go to Disney. He hated Disney.
Yeah.
He hated Disney.
It feels like such a missed opportunity. I think that it was so easy to give something that fans would enjoy and not do the what you call DEI or whatever you want to call it. And I really am I hope that I'm wrong. Somebody in the chat said that I'm very negative. I'm not trying to be negative.
You're not negative.
If it's good, I'm going to say that I love it and it's great and I want it to be good. I really want it to be good.
I want to say really quickly, anyone who says and I say this with absolutely no disrespect, not that I say no all due respect, but it's actually disrespect. I say so absolutely sincerely. Price of Reason is not a negative guy. Even
No,
with
he
the
sounds like
worst
that even
of-
when he's happy.
Even with the worst of movies and shows, he makes it a point in his videos to look for something to like of it. It's almost like he's hunting for it.
No,
I'm just
and I
saying.
understand where Price is coming from to a point too, even if he is, kind of concerned. Oh, we're all concerned, but I also feel like we do need to, again, reiterate that we can't be chasing shadows. We cannot be jumping at ghosts that aren't there. Just because something has a strong female character or this character or that character doesn't necessarily mean automatically bad. But now, George, you've made some good points about, adapting what they're adapting, but then script I also agree with what he's saying as far as like, if you're going to show up Amazon and by completely making up bullshit, what better way to do that than with a character that is still part of the lore. They are actually, as far as I can tell, sticking to most of that story. But what they're doing now is giving that person identity.
Right, but
I don't see a problem with that.
But they didn't exist. It's literally in one line. It's like the problem that I see with the Hunt for Gollum. It's a page and a half, I believe, or a paragraph.
I get it, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe script can explain this better, but I do really feel like I get it. Some people are like, "Well, why would you want to do that?" When again, we don't know what they can exactly do. But at the same time, if you want to expand a universe, you can't box yourself into just what's there on the page. I mean, or if that's the case, we wouldn't have got the movies we got. And it took me a little time to get used to the movies because that was the thing with the movies is those weren't what I had in my head. What I had in my head was completely different. What I thought a Gollum looked like, what I thought the goblins looked like, what I thought, pretty much Gandalf was like the only thing in the movie that looked like I pictured in the book.
I agree.
Sorry, anyway, Script, you were going to say something.
I'll put it to you this way. There's other lands outside of Middle Earth that have not been written about, that have been mentioned. And there's nothing preventing a studio from telling a original story in there. And just to say, well, it didn't exist is actually really a cop-out because it's like, well, it's mentioned, therefore it exists. The details of that are fair game for anyone that wants to write it based on the rights holders and the permission that they give. There's nothing wrong with that. This here seems more like a flex to me where Peter Jackson's saying, okay, you're going to turn Galadriel into this strong, empowered woman, but also like completely, defeminize her. Well, let me show you what I can do with a no-name character and make her feel like she fits and belongs in there because Galadriel and that Rings of Power does not feel like she's the Galadriel from any iteration of Tolkien, right? No. So here we have someone that is completely unknown, untapped, a blank canvas of sorts. And if he's able to pull it off where this feels like an authentic character within Tolkien, that is the biggest middle finger to Amazon and everybody of that ideology to basically say, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. But if he fails, then what you basically can say, yep, there we go. He fell into, that dark pit of despair, of DEI despair, of die-spare, if you will. And he swung for the fences. He failed. He botched it up. And guess what? Now we, as an audience, because he failed, we reserve a little bit more right for apprehension and criticism for the next two projects that he has on his docket.
I can see that. I actually like the way that you explain that, and I can understand it. I'll just say this last thing.
The onus is on Jackson now. Sorry.
Right. Why not show up Amazon by going, you've butchered everything in every single way. I'm going to bring back the magic that I did with Lord of the Rings, bringing the heart of the story and a lot of the lore, not breaking up the canon, not screwing it over, like doing the exact opposite. That what Amazon promised. We're going to honor the lore. We're going to honor the lore. The more interviews that have been coming out lately, there was one that I think it was that Park Place covered that they pulled it from a piece from GQ. Payne and McKay were explaining. No, it was McKay was explaining. Oh, the reason we picked the Second Age is so we could do whatever we wanted. But that's different from the first interview they gave to Vanity Fair. We are writing the book Tolkien never wrote. We're going to stick to Tolkien as close. I'm like, which is it? You're writing your own thing? You're honoring Tolkien? Or you want to just do whatever the hell you want to do and slap Tolkien's name on it and then all the characters? Like, so I get what script is saying. I hope it works. I would love to see someone honor the damn books not the way they are, not word for word. You can't do that, different media. I get it. But I wish he would have shown, and maybe he does, I wish he'd show Amazon how to do it correctly.
This could be that, though. That's the thing. We have yet to know. We have yet to know for certain. I will say there's nothing wrong being apprehensive with some of the imagery, especially in the U.S. trailer, because, again, it feeds into something we've we've seen a handful of times across other genres.
Yeah.
That's where I like the Japanese trailer though. Was the
I haven't
nuance.
seen it.
That one has a lot
I mean,
more
if
him in it.
if he goes into the story with the pure intent of giving the middle finger to Amazon and creating this strong female character, and maybe he does it really well, but it'll dominate the creative process and it'll detract from the final product. I don't mind her being there, but that's why where I like the Japanese trailers. It provides a much more nuanced idea of the film, whether or not that's the reality. If he was able to take it in that way, where she's a part of the story, but she's not dominating the story, she's just a character within it, then I don't mind that, and I would look forward to that.
Or perhaps she's the narrative of it. Like, the reason we know the story is because she's the one that told it. I mean, that might be a little bit strenuous with regards to the actual written works itself, but it's not as violating as, trying to put her center stage in the story itself. I mean, because those things are two different aspects. I mean, it's kind of like, the princess from the Emperor in Dune. Well, that story is narrated by her, but she's not the main character. But if we decide to get, someone does a Dune story where she ends up becoming the main character, that's a violation of what Dune was. It's basically, no, this is a background character who is telling the story. She's recording it. And the reason she's recording is because Paul Atreides is not sleeping with her and never will touch her. She has nothing to do. And she has no children to raise. She has nothing. She has to now look at it afar as an observer and watch this man, raise a family with his concubine and basically have her bloodline and her father's bloodline completely erased from the universe because of a mistake he made in trying to get rid of the original, Leto and all that. It's basically the ultimate revenge and punishment.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Where is this Japanese trailer that y'all are talking about?
I actually sent it to you in a DM on Twitter.
Okay.
So you can check that out. And when we're done here, we've got a few super chats here we're going to get into. Let's see here. We've got Nelson Shrita, who says, with $2, War of the Girl Boss. Well, let's hope not. But we'll have yet to see. And 6 sending a 99 super sticker. Let me guess, it's a pooper sticker, I bet. Let me bring up this thing here. It is a pooper sticker. Thank you for that, 6. Normal Man. Thank you for that. 10 Canadian dollars. Could it be possible that Helm's daughter serves as a POV character in the film? Could. Nicholas Horton sends in 34 month member chat and says, as a big anime nerd, I'm willing to give this Lord of the Ring movie a chance, but at least she ain't been race swapped, unlike that Motu movie casting for Tila. Right. Well, yeah. See, I mean, I guess look at the positive side.
Oh, yeah. They got a CW actor for. Yeah, that's a bad call anyway. It doesn't matter that it's also, a Latin.
I didn't see any race swapping in this trailer at all, really, if you think about it.
But yeah, it's always a red flag when you get someone from like Riverdale to put into a movie. I'm sorry. They're not actors. They're models. They're beautiful people. They don't have talent.
You're not wrong.
Why did they? What started that trend? Script?
Lazy casting directors at CW.
It's kind of always been that way, though. You had to pin up kids back.
But they used to act. You had pin up people, but they at least they
not all of them graduated to acting.
Well, it's not always like Aaron Spelling knew how to find attractive women that knew how to act, and then the next generation is like, well, we can find attractive women, they just don't know how to act. So
some do, but not most of them.
And then it started with like Dawson's Creek and all of those things. Like Katie Holmes was like your first one there. She's not a very good actress.
Well, and I think I might know a connection because the writing team here, I think they worked on Supernatural. I think I saw something in their thing for Supernatural. Yeah.
Which is even worse because Supernatural is, I mean, that's a long-driven show and it's very Buffy Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, I'm just saying that might be the connection with the actress, though, is what I was
thinking. No, the actress is from, the actress is from the same studio, but she was never on Supernatural.
Right. Yeah. But I'm just saying they might know each other from whatever. They may have worked on some other things. I just glanced at their shit, so. Yeah. But we'll have to wait and see if they Tila this character or not. Nelson Shrita sends in another 5. Thank you so much. It says, if the wife gets that 50 times in a row, you don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. Well, here's the thing, Nelson Shrita. You're right. But this isn't the same.
This isn't the same husband.
Exactly. Yeah. Like this is you gotta give them the.
Well, that means you have bad taste in boyfriends then.
Yeah. On the street of Burbank, Disney is the next door neighbor that beats his wife, and Warner Brothers is the guy that he just gets into a shouting match, but he never strikes her.
Well, it's the
verbally abusive.
And this happens. It's when you pick the same type of boyfriend and you keep wondering how you get the same result out of it. Like they're usually like if you date the same type, and that could be for anything. It doesn't matter if it's like a certain type of jock or even just a prep or a geek. Because yes, fortunately, there's geeks who are stupid too. If you keep doing the same thing, thinking, oh man, I keep dating the same type of guy, thinking this one's going to be different. Maybe you got to expand your horizons. Yeah, I get the analogy where this comes from, but obviously there are different slants to it. But I think the point still kind of remains intact. You don't automatically get the benefit of the doubt more because, yeah, we have been proven right for most definitely worse a lot of times. So yeah, they do got to work hard to show us that they deserve our trust and our money, and more importantly than our money, our time.
Absolutely.
Well, you also got to remember when this movie was put into production, it was pre-Zaslav.
Yes, it was.
I think true. Sarnoff would have been one of the people there, so it probably was one of the stipulations. But in that doesn't necessarily mean, like, you got to remember, we're not dealing with the kind of people that, you know, Peter and Fran and Philippa are not the type of people that are just brand new to this game that are just doing this to get a job in Hollywood, right? They actually can go, okay, I can work with that. Even if it isn't just flexing, like Script and I kind of think it is. It could have just been that. It could have been Sarnoff going, the only way you're making this is if it has a strong female character. So they, you know, probably scoured through what they could do, and they probably keyed in on this event and this character, and they're like, okay, we can work with this. This is kind of a Mulan kind of story. We could probably pull out of this kind of thing.
And the other part too is they're
directly
not
a Mulan story, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's not enough history for this character that they're actually violating anything of it. It's not like they're rewriting Galadriel like Rings of Power. It's not like they're rewriting Erwin like, you know, they could. They're just taking a character that has basically a blank slate and saying, we can actually have fun with this. And at the worst case scenario, it doesn't ruin or destroy that character because there's so little about her to actually violate.
That's the only saving grace, that they chose a character that doesn't have a name and people aren't sitting around and thinking about. But even so, did they really need this? If they already had a chance to make an animated movie with this type of team, is this really the best they could do?
We don't know yet. But I mean, the thing is, what are they, again, if Ann Sarnoff was the one writing the checks, what are the stipulations that she has? And here's the other thing too. It's one of the few projects that Zaslav has decided to keep on after he took over, because he canceled a lot. He canceled.
Well, he doesn't want to lose Lord of the Rings either.
And he doesn't want to lose Peter Jackson. He doesn't want to lose a relationship with Peter Jackson. Probably just because of that relationship, he would let this project come to fruition, even if he knew it was shit.
Well, that was one of the only good things to probably happen during the Kalar era, is when he got dumped off there by Amazon. Peter did. They came in and swooped in and said, hey, psst, you want to come over here and get some pure Lord of the Rings?
Even those idiots knew to swoop in.
As long as they don't violate the core tenets of the story of Helm Hammerhand,
I think we're okay until we see any reason not to think it's okay. Yeah.
In the trailer, we saw Helm fighting that big ice monster. That wasn't her daughter doing it; it was him.
He hits him once and he goes down.
There's a good comment in the chat about that too. As long as she's not stealing those feats from other characters,
right?
You're not placing her in existing story elements,
right? Exactly. And it doesn't look like it's going to violate. I mean, I think that shot with the ring thing there at the end is clearly setting up the other films. Like, I'm surprised they even put that in the trailer, because I'm sure that's like a teaser for down the road, right? Like, and again, like, I look at it this way. This, in Script, you're making the best point of this, right? It's not like they took, like they did with Galadriel, right? Because doing what they did with Galadriel, George, would be like if let's say Burger King decided tomorrow, you know what? We're going to take the Whopper, but we're going to change it to where it's no longer beef. It's only veggie beef.
Yeah.
Right? It's that fake shit.
I agree.
Everybody would freak the fuck out. But now if instead Burger King said, well, we got the Whopper.
Yeah.
What if we introduce a companion Whopper in the veggie version? Nobody would give a shit.
Yeah, of course not. They wouldn't, because
I think that's kind of what this is.
Not picky. Yeah. Well, I mean, what Amazon is doing with this second season, at least the way they're setting up with the teasers and trailers and behind the scenes with Galad Diarrhea, I mean, they basically are going for kind of like this Harlequin romance, forbidden love between her and Sauron, which, again, Tolkien would be rolling in his grave. My first reaction was, okay, here we go again. So I'm glad we talked about this. I really like sticking to the core concepts of the canon, but as long as they don't violate the Helm Hammerhand's primary
I don't think they're
story.
fucking with the actual Whopper. I think this is just an addition to.
I hope so.
Side dish, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I want to
hope
look
so.
at it. Yeah, I hope I'm
will
right.
say
I
this,
mean,
like,
again,
if Helm doesn't die the way he's supposed to die, and if that legend doesn't stick through as a result of the ending of this film, then yeah, you have every Lord of the Rings fan has every right to be upset and criticize and bash that, because again, that would be a violation of what that story is.
Like,
But,
I really
I mean-
don't know how they're going to do a Hunt for Gollum script. I mean, I've been thinking about it. It's interesting to me, and I got excited, but I'm like, how do you take just that little bit of material? I've been going through the books. I'm like, are they going to basically go do flashbacks when you had Aragorn and Gandalf on their journey together for 30 plus years? I know Ian
I
McKellen
think the
said he wanted
beauty
to
of
go
it is
back.
you have a character who talks to himself for one.
Yeah, you do have.
I mean, is there that kind of talent still
That was,
left?
to me, honestly, some of the best parts of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. One of the reasons why I love The Two Towers is because you've got all those scenes with Andy Serkis just acting against himself as Gollum and
Smeagol, essentially, yeah.
Smeagol, basically, yeah. And I thought, and I'm not saying that's going to be the whole movie. We also know they're going to, and they've, even what's his face has expressed, if they need him somehow to play, Viggo, if they need him somehow, he's willing to do it. And he goes, if anybody can figure out, it's Peter and Fran.
Right, because that's his worry, because you'd have to have Aragorn 30 years before. Yeah, he'd have to.
Well, the beauty of that is, isn't he
basically
basically Strider at that point? And he's kind of like running around in the hood and all that shit. So the beauty of it is you could have like a body double for a lot of it and just have Viggo doing the voice in the darkness and stuff. And just kind of like
his face with some dyed hair and some subtle lighting, tricks. I mean, unfortunately, he's not like Elijah Wood, who still hasn't aged in 30 years.
We don't
even necessarily have to see him to know who it is. That's the beauty of it.
Just have to hear that voice, right?
Viggo Mortensen's last film, I think it was a Civil War type of movie. He was doing an interview and I caught it. He actually asked the director of the production, because the character is supposed to have a dream about being some type of knight. It's a short scene, and he actually has his sword from Lord of the Rings. It's in the movie for a second and a half.
Dude, that's cool.
It is. You can go.
I love
think
that.
it's called Death Hurts or Death Can Also Hurt. It's his last movie from a couple of months ago. And if you look it up, you can see it.
It's just cool that he did that. I love that when actors are so attached to certain roles that they have like that, especially based off of geek IPs. Yeah. I love when that happens. Obviously, Viggo has been very outspoken about how much he really respects the Lord of the Rings. We need more guys like him and Charlie Cox's of the world who really love these type of characters. Henry Cavill, of course, too, notwithstanding. Yeah, we need more of you guys out there.
It's called The Dead Don't Hurt, and I'm looking for,
I think I've heard of that. Okay, cool.
And I'm pulling up the image here. Hold on.
Sweet Christmas.
Here it is. I'll send it.
You seem so excited about getting it out. I'm like, yeah.
Here you go. If y'all wanna,
here,
Tom, if you want to pop this up, it's in the private chat. The link. You can see this is the clip from the movie, The Dead Don't Hurt, where Viggo's character has a dream of being a knight.
Oh, cool.
There's the sword.
Nice.
Yeah, he had it put in there.
Seen it. Yeah.
He said in the interview, he called Peter Jackson, because the director's like, well, we don't have that.
Yeah.
He's like, we don't have that. He's like, you're going to have to get permission. So he called Jackson. Jackson said he had to call the studio, and then they worked it all out.
HQ. Yeah, I remember him saying something about that in an interview once. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it rolls. You never know. Too Tired is here, but he's not too tired to send in a $5 super chat. Says, I think they used anime as a format because historically anime has had great success with strong female characters and has typically written them well. And not only that, it will play probably very well over in East Asian countries. I bet.
Zack Snyder comes out with another anime in September for Netflix.
Yeah, and nobody cared.
Oh,
that trailer dropped today too.
Yeah. And his apparently his Army of Dead series or whatever it is been canceled.
Really?
That's the word.
Jay Olivia's pilot did not get picked up as far as I know, but that might change because he's doing the pilot series, companion pilot series on Netflix for that.
Hey,
I wonder how the ratings were for Rebel Moon, the director.
Non-existent.
What I heard, not very good. Yeah. John
it didn't even
Common
trend on any of the social media platforms when it dropped.
But yeah, John Common says if Boyens pulled from the Eowyn story to develop this character using Heron and Luthien to flesh out Aragorn and Arwen, I think this will be okay. Do you agree with that, George?
Yeah, I'm just hope they do that.
I don't think it's going to trample on anything else, so that's at least we can hope.
It might be the interview that's still stuck in my mind. If you read that interview from Philippa Boyens, it just reminded me so much of Disney.
Well, question: do you recall the questions being asked to them?
I'm going to pull it up actually,
because the questions are basically, again, this is one of the things I've been picking up and conveying to a lot of other people is like, pay attention to the questions that the interview is having because they're trying to lead their interview subjects down a certain path. I mean, the most famous one that we had recently is The Acolyte. Like the gay guy says, "This is the gayest Star Wars show." Those two, Leslie Headland and whatever her name is, Osha, didn't bring that up. He did. And so they rolled with it because that's part of playing the PR press checking game. So if the interview brought in what was your conviction about doing this female character, boom, that's how you get them onto talking about that as opposed to talking about the substance of the actual story, right? So you have to just pay attention. Who's doing the manipulation? Who's playing the game? And are they fishing for an answer that pushes their own agenda, or are they actually just trying to do a good job in finding out and conveying to the audience what these people are doing with that property? Because again, it's been mostly the media that's been calling out and calling fans haters and toxic and all that other stuff. It's and rarely really the celebrities themselves, unless they've been primed or charged to do so. And
well,
when
Amandla Stenberg or whatever, she said that
when she did that music video, poof, yeah, that was her.
That was her. That was a really bad video.
Oh yeah.
That was a disaster.
Horrible. Especially coming from like a Hollywood celebrity millionaire who's complaining about being oppressed. You're like, what?
Is Amandla a millionaire? I don't think she
is. She's worth the video, she's worth $4 million. I mean, she's not up there J-Lo status, but the way she was coming across in a couple of pieces, it's like
at a young age, she's made more money than most of the people sitting here now talking to each other. So,
but she's got it rough, Price. You have no idea.
And I mean, I feel like saying something, and I'm gonna be a bit of a douche, and I'm sorry, but I want to say it anyways. That she's what I consider an overcompensator. She reminds me, she's like a female version of Colin Kaepernick or whatever his name is. Her father is the whitest man in Denmark. Amandla Stenberg.
She rarely talks about him. It's always about her mom.
That's pretty fucking white.
Right. I mean, she is half Danish, half white and Danish. And I'm not saying I understand that her skin color is a darker tone, but this 400 years of oppression when she's sitting with millions at a young age and a Danish father, it's just kind of strange to me, personally.
I don't fuck with her discourse.
That was good.
Kalekioki sends in a pair of super chats here and says, "You guys think the deal Marvel made with Sony for Spider-Man was for better or for worse after the Tobey trilogy? I honestly think they haven't done anything notable with the character." And then he goes on to say with another 5, "Thank you so much. Out of Holland's trilogy, the only one that will be remembered is No Way Home because of other Spider-Man. Hard to work with the character because of Disney's Sony deal." I slightly disagree. The only one of the Holland films I personally didn't really care for was the second one, but I feel like people have embraced Tom Holland as a character, especially after the last film, and he's going to be in the role for at least another few years yet. And there's plenty of Spider-Man stuff coming. Really, as far as like doing anything of note, Sony has done nothing but kind of destroy Spider-Man for the last. Look at the stuff they're still coming out with. Yeah, between Madam Web and fucking what you call it, Venom,
The Last Dance, and then
Morbius.
I was trying to think. Craven was the one I'm trying to think of. We all know that's going to be a fucking failure and a half.
Oh,
yeah. No, it don't matter where Spider-Man is. It's basically Spider-Man stuck between two abusive parents. That's what he's.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I wish that wasn't true, but well, we've seen the results from both of them, and they like abusive parents, they had their nice days, and they definitely had their abusive days, and we have definitely seen Spider-Man pay for the results of the abusive days in more ways than one.
I mean, the rights thing has gotten in the way more so with Disney than Sony has more control over that, basically, from my understanding. So,
Do you think?
that's. Go ahead, George.
Do you think Craven is going to do well?
No.
No, I don't know because I
No,
keep. I saw a couple of people on there. I don't know if it was Alan.
I think it'll do somewhere between Madam Web and Morbius. Maybe a little better, but not much.
Oh, so you don't think it's $500 million?
No. I would say this: Aaron Taylor Johnson is not a big enough name to draw people in, and the character of Craven is unfortunately not big enough to lead a movie itself.
He's a villain.
This is a tactic of a villain character or a supporting character being given a feature film in the hopes to monetize and rebuild and build up and elevate them from D-list status to A-list status. And Sony is basically looking at the Iron Man model saying, we can do that for any of the characters, can't we? Mm-hmm. And then we've seen them fail time after time after time
again. This is the same company that kept trying to do Sinister Six.
Exactly. Remember how Aaron Taylor Johnson used to be in the MCU? He was introduced and 5 minutes later they killed him.
Right.
Sony is proof that you can still insert names who are reputable, whether it's in the acting department, Russell Crowe, Aaron Taylor Johnson, or in the writing department, Drew Goddard for Sinister Six, and still 800 things can still go wrong. They are good at getting a lot of names that are involved in various departments and still freaking it up.
What about Russell Crowe? I mean, he's
in Craven. He's not going to say that movie, even if let's pretend that he's good in it.
He's not big enough to draw people in?
Not anymore.
No, he hasn't been big since Master Commander.
Yeah.
He's big because I think he eats more.
Big because of
girth,
the food
yes.
No, I'm being serious here. His name no longer carries the prestige.
People know when he's collecting a check. People know when Russell Crowe's collecting a check.
One at a time. One at a time. Yeah. Okay. Now, 10, 15 years ago, yes. Russell Crowe could probably open a film. Now he is in that legacy arena of actors. Like, it's good to have him there as a nice supporting cast. But I mean, kind of like you look at like Man of Steel is a great example. You got him in playing Jor-El. You got Kevin Costner, who's another great example of somebody who was, huge in Hollywood. And now he's reminding Hollywood again why they quit letting him make movies the way they were before. Even though I liked Horizon a lot, I can still say like he's trying to pull another Dances with Wolves and it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
No. That was a once in a lifetime thing. But point being is, like you have guys like that who used to be guys who you could put in a starring role and open a film, but now they're playing Jor-El and Pa Kent.
And not only that, so Russell Crowe is in part of this pocket of actors, and this goes for men and women, where once you get out of your A-list star status, you are hired because your name gets you maybe $10 or $15 million towards the budget of the project you're working on, and you give a portion of that to the actor. Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington are really like 10 years away from doing a sequel to Virtuosity at this point.
What?
Yeah.
They really are. It's not for lack of their talent. It's just the fact that the market has changed and they're no longer the names that draw the audience to the theaters. Or
to Gladiator, now, if you put Commander, if you put all these brilliant
movies around 20 years old.
You're talking like, if you put him with somebody now, if it's not, you could even try and go in and say, I got this idea for a movie with Denzel Washington, or a movie that would be perfect for Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. And they'd be like, what is it? And it'd be some original idea. They'd be like, I'm not interested. But now, like Script said, if you come in and try to sell a legacy sequel to Virtuosity, then they'll listen, because that's the problem is the movie star has now been replaced with the IP. And this is what Vince Vaughn was talking about before.
And Anthony Mackie said that also like 8 years ago too. When
and other guys have been talking about Scorsese and stuff like that. But on the other side of this, they need to learn with these comic book movies that there's only exceptions to the rule when it comes to the villain in the lead role. And that is Joker and Venom. And they've already done them. There is not one other single character I can think of that would warrant or would work as a main character. And even Joker shouldn't.
Blade's not a villain. But
Blade's not a villain, but like
I would say you could probably do
anti-heroes like Punisher are a little
Blade's
different.
A hero. He's not an anti. He's an actual hero.
But I would say you could probably do a very good one-off Mr. Freeze, because he has actually a very tragic story.
Potentially, or maybe Penguin, but even that I think we're going to see.
But it's not something that would draw people in the same way.
Right.
Even a C or D list hero does. I love his story. I'm with you, but we already had that story done with Batman, Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero. Wonderful story, by the way.
Well, and these guys
But
already
as
kind
far
of
as live movie headlining, I personally would actually not be opposed to that because I agree with you on that aspect. But as far as the general audience go, that's made for the diehards, not for the normies.
Well, I mean, those same arguments were used for Joker, and it made $1 billion.
I always thought Joker.
And again,
was
that was
perfect
an
for the normie
exception to the
audience.
rule, and Venom was another one that's kind of more leaning into the anti-hero to where they can work with that. But even Joker kind of took me by surprise because it shouldn't have fucking worked.
But you think Folio Do is going to do well? The same?
Oh,
I don't know. It might more so because of Lady Gaga than because it's a sequel to Joker. Because here's the thing: is like, I mean, this is the joke I made at the time, and it still rings true. We already had a Joker movie. It was called Batman 1989.
Yeah.
Like they kind of forgot that these movies used to be the hero's the hero. The underlying story was always the villain story, right? Like that was what drove some of these actors away from doing Batman movies because they got sick and tired of it always being about the villains. So it's like tough shit. That's what it's about. You know, you can only retell Batman's story 12 times before it gets boring, man. I mean, like, and it's the same thing.
The villain is the one that's actively trying to do something, and Batman is there to stop it. So there's far more motivation or proactive ambition on the villain side that makes them more interesting to follow. And Batman is there is like, well, how is a battle of wits if he's gonna stop them in this movie? And that puts him in a little bit more of a stage of Arrested Development by comparison. And that's why you have.
You can only have an angsty Batman for so long too, and that's why I was glad by the time you get to Batman Forever, that's a big part of Val Kilmer's arc in that film is him kind of coming to terms with this whole thing, right? So then,
But don't tell me you like the Clooney one.
I don't hate it anymore like I used to.
I don't like it.
I mean,
It's
I have
not
issues
a good movie,
with it,
but it at least does something that the Batman didn't do, which is have a proper plot.
Yeah,
They need to release a music
that
video. They need to
and I
release a
love that
song of that movie. Straight up.
Is that the Smashing Pumpkins song?
Yes, that's the one.
I like that's the only good thing I'll say. The Smashing Pumpkins song is good. I've
made my arguments for it because of how it pays more homage to the 60s series than anything, and it is basically that the Batman the 60s series, the movie. It also has that great scene with he had bat nipples in Batman Forever. Nobody just didn't notice.
But I wanted to say something. You were talking about 1989, and I think that also keep in mind that in that movie, Jack Nicholson at the time until this day was the much bigger star. Yep. When you went to see that movie, everybody was talking about the Joker and about Jack Nicholson. He was really the draw there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was the top billed actor.
He even got top billing. Yeah,
I can't remember. Maybe I'm getting the chronology out of order, but wasn't Keaton before that in Mr. Mom?
Beetlejuice, Mr. Mom, a couple things like that.
And then he did one in Japan where he had to go to Japan and to work on a
car
Japanese
factory. He would work in Gung Ho. He was in a car factory. Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, George, you know that movie I can't find it anywhere. Anytime I try to find Gung Ho online, I feel like they buried it because it's probably not PC.
I was gonna say I think it's been on DVD and that's about it. Yeah.
They never want you to see it again.
I have been looking for a movie for the last few months that Mana Ward told me about. It's because I love Dirty Dozen. Steve
McQueen?
Not Steve McQueen in the Dirty Dozen. Who's you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Dirty Dozen, the head of the Dirty Dozen. Oh, damn it. Dirty Dozen.
Oh,
Lee Marvin.
Okay, Lee Marvin. Yeah.
It was a Lee Marvin movie that he did with Ernest Borgnine, where Lee Marvin is a hobo and Ernest Borgnine is like this evil, vile villain. I have looked for it. It's called Lee Marvin, and I have looked for it. It's supposed to be phenomenal. And for some reason, it is
Emperor of the North Pole?
Emperor of the North Pole, yeah.
And by the way, I was just going to say, I thought I heard news that they were releasing Gung Ho soon. Yeah, Kino Lorber picked up the rights. Getting a 4K restoration by Paramount coming soon.
There's the article, by the way.
Yes, I just noticed that. Sorry about that. So this is the one you were talking about with about the daughter.
Yeah, so you can see right there that was one of the one piece where it was Philippa Boyan. She goes in the appendices where the stories are drawn from. We get these quite interestingly drawn male characters, and then we get this young female character who's never named. And that was really interesting to me, Boyan says. We know Helm has a daughter, and we know that she was central to the conflict that happened. Not really. But myself, and especially screenwriter Phoebe Gittins, were drawn to her. We could feel the weight of being that unnamed daughter, which immediately piqued our interest. Who was she? How did she live? Well, Tolkien didn't waste any time on her. So, and it goes on. I said, maybe it was this interview just stuck with me, but
yeah.
It was. But I'm going to look at again the whole thing when we get off to.
I mean, it's a fair question to ask. Is like, this conflict started because this daughter wasn't going to marry this other guy. It's like, well,
Right.
that's a very interesting question to explore. The fact that Tolkien didn't explore it, okay, maybe he didn't feel it was necessary. That's fine. Or maybe he did have a story for it and never got around to working it because, again, he did die.
Yeah,
He did die with a lot of stuff that was unwritten that he hadn't finished yet. You never know.
Yeah.
But I mean, we
maybe they uncovered some note. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say maybe they uncovered some notes about her that never made it into the actual writings, and they were. I don't know.
I guess if they're working with the estate, they could have.
Just speculating. Exactly.
The sad thing is that Christopher's not alive anymore to actually help and guide and shape this. And
and that's the thing I was gonna say earlier is what stood out to me is in their press release about this whole thing, they specifically said they are the keepers of the lore. They actually said Sir, Tolkien and all that kind of like they treated him with the utmost respect in that. They made sure to keep naming his names. They kept trying to push the idea of what you've been saying the whole time, George. And that's where I'm wondering if there isn't a big part of this where it isn't kind of a look what we can do, Amazon, and we're going to do it better than you. And maybe that's not going to rub some people the right way, but at the same time, we'll have to see how.
I hope it's good. Look, anything Tolkien, I hope. When Amazon first announced what they were doing years, I was thrilled. I was jumping.
I don't think they're setting out to try and divert.
I was like, no one's going to spend this kind of money to screw it up. I was excited.
Until you see, oh wait, these are assistants to J.J. Abrams. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think they're trying to pervert Tolkien in the same way that Amazon is, right? Like that's what I think we really need to kind of step back, take a breath, and look at it in that respect, right?
I really
don't think so.
I'd still like to know if and when this season fails, like how much longer can they keep going? I mean, really keep blowing.
Paid for, yeah. So
I mean, I guess my guess is they'll hit like season 3 or 4 where they basically have made more show than it's going to cost them to buy themselves out of that. I think they have to pay them whatever. I'm sure it's
because I heard they can buy the contract out.
That's what I'm saying. It'll probably be cheaper by then, right? Script, because the more they produce, then by that point they should be able to buy out of it at a cheaper cost than now, for instance, right?
Possibly, yeah. It depends on how much they spend on it.
But at least this way they can look at they'll make 3 years of it or something like that, and then maybe try to, because that's what Netflix kind of did with the STD when they kind of realized, this show is not performing the way we were hoping it would. We don't want to spend the kind of money you want for season 4 and 5. And then since they were arguing about that, and I think they pulled out of either both season 4 or 5, or at least they got out of season 5.
Yeah,
because they had to go into arbitration over it.
So
but yeah, they would have had to pay out the same kind of a deal too.
So I'm doing a little bit of cursory research here, and apparently Phoebe Gittins and Artie Papageorgiou, who are one of the final writers, they did the last draft. They are apparently people that have worked with Peter Jackson since the very beginning. In fact, Phoebe Gittins started.
I was going to say the Papageorgiou name sounded familiar. Yeah.
Well, she Phoebe Gittins was actually a cute Hobbit child in the Fellowship of the Rings in 2001.
Really?
Yes. So she knows.
So she knows her stuff.
Well, the thing is, like, she at least knows enough people on that original production that she's made it in here. She also was in The Hobbit, The Desolate of Smaug as a prancing pony wench. Like, she's been a part of this, so she's clearly part of this family production that's going on there.
Yeah. And Peter has like a crew that's like a family too, right?
Yeah, like she's got in there as well. Now, both of these both of these writers actually have very few published writing credits, but it looks like they've been shepherded by Peter Jackson's production company since the early 2000s. So this might be their big break.
I hope it works. I
hope it works too, because if these are people who got their career started with Lord of the Rings, these feature films, like factually, ideally you'd hope that they want to stick to that type of aspect of it. So we can only cross our fingers at this point, because this is literally their biggest project they've ever done. It's the first one, and it's under the auspices of the people that started their careers to begin with in the first place. That's usually a good sign.
Isn't one of them?
Especially with the quality.
Isn't one of them Philippa Boyen's daughter?
Yeah, well, one of them is the writer. The writers.
I'm not sure which one though, but
I can't remember which name it was.
Because I know she was talking about it, being excited working with her daughter on this project.
Yes, that's Phoebe Gittins is the daughter.
Phoebe. Yep.
Yeah.
What do y'all think before? Because I got to get running. What do y'all think of? I'm just curious, dying of Y2K, Rachel Zegler's next project before Snow White.
Weird.
I'm just curious.
I haven't heard much about it, but if is it like
supposed to be a comedy?
Y2K scare? Or what's
did y'all see the trailer? It was released the other day, and
No, I missed
see the trailer. My first thought was, have any of these actors been alive in Y2K? Or they
No.
just kind of giving this impression of what they thought it was like.
90s movie. I saw a trailer for it. It looked awful, and she looked awful in it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a comedy or something about apocalypse, or I don't know. It was just like, wow. One day I want to get script to explain to me how you can have an actress that has one flop after another and keeps getting jobs. I was talking to Tom earlier, and we talked about it a week ago, and it used to be that actors got X amount of roles. When their films failed, they were done, at least in big projects.
Well, there's two avenues for it. So the first avenue is, who do you know, right? And that gets you work. The other part too is, are you good to work with? Like, even if you're in flops, but you're a pleasure to work with, people like you, they will keep hiring you because they know they can get what they need out of you, and you're not going to push back. You're not going to make it a nightmare on set because of them. You're not a diva or any of that stuff. That's one way. As for if Rachel Zegler is like that, I don't know about the not being a diva part, but she definitely happens to have some connections in Hollywood now that she's established that are happy with her for the time being. And until she burns those bridges, she's going to keep getting work. I mean, even though she did have one successful movie, that was the Hunger Games thing. So that she can ride that out for at least a couple more jobs.
I thought it broke even. That's okay. I thought it broke
Hunger
even.
Games did okay, but it didn't.
A Ballad of.
But the thing is, also, we're also talking about two completely different eras, right? Like, the time periods you're kind of talking about too, George, is it was true of the time periods of when the movie was built around a star, usually, right? Like, you know, they would only let, you know, look at the careers of like guys like Schwarzenegger and Stallone are great examples. I mean, they were able to do just about anything they want. They did shit tons of movies between 1980 and 1995, but once they started hitting hiccups there around the early 90s, their movies started becoming more sporadic to the point where now they're doing like a lot of straight to video, Netflixy kind of shit, TV. You know, they're not the caliber they used to be. And it's not because of their age so much as it's just, you know, at that point they were still right off their prime, but that was because they were the vehicle for the film. Right. As soon as it became the MCU, the Harry Potter, the, you know, throw in your IP here, well, a lot of these actors can get away with, well, it's not my fault. You cast me in this fucking superhero thing that was supposed to make $1 billion.
Okay. Now I'm understanding. I just thought somebody, especially who continually causes.
Then rarely are you going to get the actor be blamed for something right now like you used to.
Not only that, again, do the studios that hire someone like Rachel Zegler, do they disagree with what she's saying? If they don't, why would they be upset with her in any way, capacity, or form? They don't care.
No, I don't think I think they completely agree with her. I'm just talking about the brand damage, like the one she's done for Snow White and keeps doing. That's why I thought they'd be like, okay, the studio execs agree with her, but how is it impacting the film and the public?
That also goes into the fact that they think a lot of their brands, because their existing IPs, are impervious.
Right.
I got you.
And I think the interesting thing we saw with the Acolyte here is we're seeing the grasp of control being pulled from various people's hands.
Okay.
Because never before have we seen this run out there and run a campaign or this to save the show shit. Right. And the narrative that's being run. And we've seen hit pieces on guys like Gary at Nerdrotic and, you know,
Drinker.
Geeks and Gamers and Drinker and all that kind of shit. Like there's something about it now that feels like the final is what I kept calling it before. It's basically this last gasp of desperation, right? Like they know that they're losing power. So they're going to do and that's when I said, be scared. Cause that means they're going to do something drastic.
Like I asked you earlier, we were on the phone. I asked Tom earlier. I'm like, with Acolyte being canceled, does that mean it had to go? Do Kennedy had to say yes to that, or is that a
no? That would have been Disney Plus, Bob.
That would have been Bob, yeah. And the other part too is, remember, just what 3 weeks ago, Leslie and co were basically saying, please go watch The Acolyte, please give it, positive reviews, please keep tweeting about it.
Yeah, D23.
Again,
so that means, yeah, they were hearing that if this doesn't pick up,
yeah, 5 weeks after the last episode of The Acolyte, there wasn't enough traction to warrant even investment into another season. That's a very quick turnaround to basically saying, yep, we thank God we didn't sign a 2-season contract with you. We just kind of do 1 season at a time. And we don't have to come back. We don't have to pay out. We don't have to do anything. We're just like, don't call us, we'll call you.
Right. Wow. Well, that's the trailer to the Y2K. See what you think.
Already hate it.
Yep, it's got that stupid kid from Deadpool in it.
Any lucky lady gonna get the midnight kiss?
Just talk to her, dude.
What's up, Laura?
Oh, I saw this trailer.
Oh, okay.
No, you can keep playing it, but like, yeah. I just remember.
Yours thinks gonna be a total shit show.
Oh. See ya.
So that
what was that kid in?
Because he looks like Daniel Radcliffe.
I was gonna say, what was he in?
I don't know.
I've seen him in something. Was he in It? Or something like that?
I don't remember.
Not from Stranger Things.
I think he played. Yeah, I think he played the writer kid in It, if I'm not mistaken.
99, and we get in.
In a few hours, you have an excuse to kiss the girl of your dreams. Open up. Take us away. It's so smooth.
Y2K is real.
Oh my God! Really? That's what this is about?
Yeah.
Something's on the net.
This is fucking retarded.
I use gel.
That's what I thought. That's why I was curious what you.
This is not even funny.
That's why I said I don't know why they would make this.
What the fuck? Like this makes
like
absolutely no sense.
Wow.
Yeah, like what the hell? You make this 2 years before Y2K, not during 20 years after.
No.
What the fuck?
Wait, it gets better.
A Tamagotchi just drilled through a chick's head. Come on, we gotta go.
Oh, there's your answer.
Major problems as a result of the Y2K breakdown.
Bye-bye.
This was probably a prequel to the End of the World movie. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I guess you're fucked.
They made a video and everything. That's crazy. You don't know how this shit works. Grab a bike, grab a board, grab whatever you can.
Oh God, I hate him. Can't stand it.
This has been the shittiest night of my life.
Fuck this.
But
I mean, if it wasn't the Y2K thing, it might be kind of funny as like a Maximum Overdrive kind of movie, like Script was saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know who this is made for. I mean,
Well,
I just don't get the gimmick.
It's a gimmick to play off the idea. Hey, remember Y2K, 24th anniversary of Y2K? Remember when we were all worried the world was going to shut down? That's what it's for. Again, you can't make movies are not made to order, and if they were, you would hate every single one of them. So
gotcha.
They're just giving a shot. Like, hey, there's a gimmick. The other part too is I will say this: at least someone is trying to make a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
man, when you've got Kyle Mooney from freaking SNL, you are not doing a comedy. I'm sorry, he's not funny. None of those people are.
Just send an asteroid now.
Well,
like that's what I say. This kind of weird is like this feels like it was meant to be like some kind of sequel or prequel to their End of the World movie, and it's like, oh, let's do it with Y2K. What if Y2K actually happened? That's how this is a conversation that shouldn't leave the fucking car before you go to the concert after you're stoned, right? Like that's the problem with this. And again, 25 fucking years after the fact, what the hell are you doing it for? That makes no sense. If you'd have done something original,
right?
Like maybe.
See if
yeah,
you
with
laugh.
Script. We need some comedies, but
well, the worst part is that they decided to go maximum overdrive with Y2K as opposed to maybe something a bit more like, oh, the entire world is actually shut down. Now we're in more of Mad Max territory.
Right.
Or even better yet, like what if some like new virus took over, right? Like a computer virus, and you got all these things that are controlled by computers, right? Like, because that's what's going on here.
Wait till you finish it.
I get knocked out, but I get up again.
So it's a movie where we can watch a bunch of kids acting like kids that we would have been that age at that point and going, that's not how we fucking acted.
Yeah.
They're banking on Zoomers who don't know the 90s.
And I'll just tell you right now, everybody hated that fucking song.
Yes.
That was a great annoying song. Not already
I don't think
means it sucked.
It was
they
used in a
understand
Home Alone
that.
movie, for crying out loud. Like,
Wow.
What were you saying, CC?
I was like, I don't think they understand the joke. That's probably how
The joke's
movie's gonna go.
26, 2 years late.
No, it's like, yeah. Wow. I just really want to know what y'all
Again,
thought.
you could have come up with a half a dozen other original ideas that this could have worked from, right? As just something like making fun of, like, okay, like Script said, you know, like, yeah, we're doing something like Maximum Overdrive, but it's a comedy, and insert whatever the hell goes wrong here with all the technology in the world. Like I said, it can even be just as simple as a shitty virus that gets out of control or something, like that some kid made in their basement.
If it's written by people who were in high school like 15 years after Y2K, okay. But then you can make that part of the gimmick. Like, say that this is how we perceive that it went down, you know?
Maybe, but like you're also stuck with the idea, like I just said, you have people that were alive then, that these kids are supposed to be acting about the age that most of us on this panel were around
that's
that
not
time
how
period.
it was.
And we're going to sit here and
Definitely
go,
not authentic.
that's bullshit. That's not what it was like.
Yeah.
What the fuck
well,
is
the
that?
sad part is that
Look,
the writer was born the same year me and CC was, so he should know better.
Right.
And
But
look,
he just-
if you're
he's
doing
not
a
a kid.
period piece like 1920s, I get it. It's probably not how it actually went down anyways.
All
It's
right,
always
actually,
the
I'm
case,
gonna
but,
be
I mean,
contrarian
come on, this
again
is
tonight.
20 years ago. 2020.
Because I got accused of it already with Lord of the Rings, so fuck it, I'll be contrarian here. Jonah Hill is not that untalented. He does, out of all that group. Oh, who do we lose? Nick?
Nick, yeah.
Yeah, Nick
Oh, yeah,
had
to
to
buzz
go.
out. Okay. Check out Nick Weiser's channel. We always hang out there usually on Tuesday nights and some other
And I
times.
have to get running too.
Yeah, you got to get running too. But anyway, yeah.
Thank you for
Let's
having me
just
on.
Get out of here. So, yeah.
No. Finish your story.
I don't
Finish
even
it.
remember what the fuck I was
You
going to
said
say.
that Jonah Hill is
has
not
talent to him,
untalented.
but
He's
that's
not
producer.
completely untalented compared to all those other guys, because Superbad wasn't that bad. And even though that movie isn't technically a period piece, it feels like it's supposed to be taking place in the 90s. Like,
Yeah.
they did get that vibe. Like, that movie has that. So if they can capture that here, maybe. I just don't trust the actors. See, because Jonah Hill was he looked young enough at that time where he could play that age still, technically.
Well, he also lost like 100 pounds between
Between
after
then
Accepted.
and now. Now he looks 20 years older. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now he looks
Weird.
like a freaking porn star director.
Yes, exactly. Script nailed it. I've been wondering what he looks like. Thank you for
Anyhow, I know you got to leave us.
Thank
We
you
got
for
one
having
here.
me.
I think Kenneth Dowling actually, meant this for you too. Anyway, so before you do run off on us here, says with $20. Hi, gentlemen. As far as A-list actors, I agree with you on Russell Crowe. He's not on that level anymore. I disagree with you on Denzel Washington. He can bring people to the theaters. His Equalizer movies have been hits. Yes, I
Love
didn't really say Denzel Washington in that, but
I know. I just said in 10 years, both of them could do a virtual.
yeah,
opera sequel, not
right.
where they are.
But
yeah.
you kind of take it like a lot of the movies that Denzel has done lately that have been considered box office hits have been basically remakes and reboots.
Right, and this
So
is a sequel
keep
to a
that into
remake that he already made.
Yes.
Now,
So
do you
it's
think he'll
televised
bring?
television
Sorry.
series. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Sorry. Do you think he'll? Before I run, do you think Washington will bring in people into the seats for Gladiator 2? Because it
No.
looks like it sucks.
No.
But I
No, I
like
don't think
Washington.
The only
I'm
people I
holding
think
out
that are
hope
going to go
for
see
it.
Gladiator are basically people who want to go see a train wreck.
Right. I don't even know why they named it that Gladiator 2. I'm like, I
'Cause they're
haven't-
stupid.
Ridley Scott desperately wants a win. He hasn't had one for a very long time. I don't think since Gladiator, actually.
Kingdom
Mars,
of Heaven?
that Mars
Wasn't it
movie.
Kingdom of Heaven?
No, Kingdom of Heaven bombed.
The Matt Damon Mars movie. Yeah.
The Mars movie did okay for him though. Yeah.
Master and Commander.
That was how many years ago?
That oh god, yeah. See, that should have started a franchise, but it just didn't. I mean, as good as it is, it didn't take.
Wasn't
off.
it based? Is it based on a series of books or actual true story?
So, yeah.
I thought it was going to start. I was waiting for the next one to come out. Then nothing.
Something like that. But anyway, I know, George, you got to get rolling. We're going to all get out of here anyway. We're losing everybody. Check out Price of Reason's channel. He's got a couple of them. In fact, you'll be live later on tonight, correct?
Yeah, there's at 10 p.m. Eastern, there's Quantum Leap Revisited with the Script Doctor and a few other people. And then at 11:45 p.m., there's the Night Owl.
Sounds good. Script Doctor, you got scripts on Saturdays. Anything else quick you want to plug besides your Patreon?
No, that's all I got right now. I've been busy just doing tons of interviews, trying to get some cool writing work because things are starting to pick up. So just wish me luck on there. And if you don't see me during the days on various streams, know that I have not forgotten you. I'm just busy, but when I do show up, I'm always happy to see all of you guys.
Awesome sauce.
I wish you luck. I hope you get them.
Me too. Thank you.
And CC, I think you said we're not going to be able to do karaoke this week yet.
I've got 1 megabit per second upload at this place. It's good for me to join you here, but for karaoke, it's going to be probably messy.
Understandable. All right. So for now we'll say no karaoke this week, but do check out CC Karaoke. He has one of the best karaoke channels on the web.
Absolutely.
And last but definitely not least, check out George the Giant Slayer. He's streaming a lot lately, actually, and I join him every Sunday. Anything you got to plug in the next couple days before then?
We got Eric July coming on this Sunday, and I'm working on a video. And then next Sunday we also have Sydney Watson. I'm working on another video. Working on another video. Should be out Sunday, hopefully.
Do check out George's channel if you haven't already. As you can see earlier, he does know a lot about Lord of the Rings. And he is an excellent speaker and storyteller, so check him out. And he does have a book as well, and get to know more about him that way. It's a tragic story, but it also tells a story of how you got your way to where you are now, basically, or found your way to how you are now, or where you're at now. That's what I meant to say.
Appreciate it.
Sorry. But yes, indeed. With that, let's get on out of here, kids. Take care of yourselves. Oh, don't forget Nick Weiser as well. So take care of yourself, guys, and we'll see you next time.
It's a combination of Dirty Dozen, Seven Samurai, and Star Wars in space.